Hi, welcome folks to another video in our security training series. We're currently in level 2. We're talking about seed phrase protection, and this particular video is really focused on seed security triage. So let's just say you've been using a wallet, possibly like MetaMask or something similar, to do your hex stakes. And you've now decided that you've realised that you're going to be attached to these stakes for quite a number of years, and you've staked them, but you want to get it to a slightly more secure environment. And we're just going to have a look and see what your options are in terms of maybe securing those stakes that are on a software wallet such as MetaMask by moving those to a hardware wallet. And I'll do a specific example restoring some seeds on a particular wallet, but once you understand what options you have, you'll probably find that you have more than one option that you can go for. So yeah, let's jump straight into it. Alright, so hopefully you've watched the previous video where we done an introduction to security, and we talked about what sort of threats you're protecting against and the cost of ownership for the security that you implement in your environment to protect your seeds and your stakes. And really what we're focusing on in this particular video, the risk we're trying to protect from, is more of a malicious type risk. So you're trying to protect it from primarily someone online getting access to your computer, or somehow getting your seed compromised or your computer compromised, remote access, things like that. So really that's the beauty of hardware wallets and the extra level of protection they give you. So yeah, let's jump in and see how that might look and how you might be able to protect yourself, or why you would want to protect yourself by moving from something like a MetaMask to a hardware wallet. All right, so with MetaMask, let's have a look at what the actual security risk is. And don't get me wrong, I'm not bagging MetaMask. It's a brilliant bit of software. It's really opened up what we can do in terms of interacting with smart contracts. So I'm not down on MetaMask, but in any way, shape or form. I just think there's a better way we can use MetaMask, and particularly in Hex, where we are linked to these staking addresses for many years. If it's just a balance you're holding on your wallet, typically, and you feel that something's happened, you're being compromised, your seed's been affected, it's very easy to move that in a normal circumstance. You just transfer the balance to a new wallet. However, when you've set up your stakes, that's not so easy to do without incurring some pretty hefty penalties in some cases. So this might be one of the main reasons why MetaMask in its standalone form is not the best. So why is that? Well, firstly, your seed phrase, it's stored in a key store, what MetaMask call a vault, on your computer. So it's literally a data file on your computer, which is arguably, I guess it leaves it open to, if someone's got remote access to your computer, they can get that file. Likewise, if you inadvertently uninstall MetaMask and you haven't backed up your seed, that's a problem. I mean, you should be doing that anyway, but let's just say you inadvertently, something crashes on your computer and you have to wipe MetaMask off your browser. Well, then that vault will actually get deleted at that point in time. So unless you've got a backup, that's also a risk you need to look at. But more importantly, when you created your wallet for the very first time in MetaMask, you went through a process where you set a password, and then you had the chance to reveal your seed phrase and write that down. So you could either write that down or you could download a file. Now, I think a lot of people choose to write that down, which they should do, but at that point in time, you've literally revealed your seed phrase on your computer. So if you don't know whether there's some already malicious software on your computer, how do you know whether your seed phrase is 100% secure? Unless you know your computer is really clean, and you may be one of those people that can put your hand on your heart and say that. I think I do a pretty good job at keeping my computer clean, but I wouldn't trust it. I'd rather know that my seed had never ever been on the computer. So that's just one of the shortcomings of using the software side of MetaMask, the software wallet side of MetaMask. And every time you need to back up your seed, you've got to reveal it again on your computer. So you go into the settings and you can reveal your seed, but once again, if your computer's compromised, you're revealing it. Another thing I'm not too keen on MetaMask is no ability to put passphrases over the top of your seeds. And that may not mean much to you at the moment, but if you watch further videos in this level, you'll understand why I'm really big on passphrases and what other benefits come along with using passphrases. So we can't actually put passphrases on our seeds in MetaMask. And every time you restore your wallet on MetaMask, so if you change your browser or you refresh your computer and you've got to go back and reinstall all your plugins and your extensions into your browsers, you've then got to input your seed phrase again. So every time you're doing things like that, you're just opening yourselves up to another chance where someone or something can access your seed. Not saying it will, but that, excuse the pun, seed of doubt is always going to be in the back of your mind that, is this 100% secure? And in most instances, you probably could, if you found something was compromised, you could move your assets pretty quickly. Like I said, not the case in Hex. We are staked, and sometimes staked for very long periods. So if someone gets hold of your seed, and this has happened already, Hex is in early days, and this has already happened where someone's seed has been compromised and their funds have been stolen, so liquid balances have been stolen, and all their stakes have been emergency unstaked as well. So that's a big hit to take on the chin. So we really want to try and protect ourselves from that sort of attack. Okay, so just a little bit more on the vault side of things with MetaMask. Like I said, your key store is a vault. It's a file that's stored on your computer, and you can actually decrypt that. So if you do lose your seed, this is straight from MetaMask's support site. There is a way to actually decrypt your vault. Now, granted, it needs the password that you put in when you set up your MetaMask wallet. But my take on that is, if someone can get hold of this file, then they can brute force this at their leisure. So they can take as long as they like and try every possible combination to crack into this vault. So great tool to have in case you do make a mistake and you haven't written down your seed phrase. But the fact that this tool is available means that it can also be used against you. So just something to keep in mind. I'm not saying it's good, bad, or otherwise, but just be aware that this is a tool that exists, and this vault file that is stored on your computer, if someone got hold of it, they could use it for nefarious means. All right, let's keep moving right along. Okay, so what options do you have if you've already set up a lot of stakes and you're now sitting there thinking, geez, I'm not real happy with this now. I'm a little bit worried. My funds have grown. they may well continue to grow to be worth a lot of dollars. How can I lock my environment down a little bit more, or how can I do a little bit of triage just to at least help me sleep a little bit better at night? And really, the two ways we can look at this is you can start doing emergency end states and then restate them, which in some instances may actually be okay to do. But obviously, if you're aware of the way the staking works in HEX, you will understand that penalties apply when you do end stake, and particularly very hefty penalties if you end stake prior to being 50% of the way through your committed days. So you can actually bite into your principal if you unstake too early. And how that would look is you would need to unstake all your stakes, get a brand new hardware wallet, fire that up, so initialize that device, and then literally move your funds to this new hardware device and restake. So obviously that, depending on how you're staked, but if you've got any sort of longer term stakes out there, that's going to come at quite a hefty cost in terms of staking penalties, or unstaking penalties to be more precise. So what's our other option? And granted, this isn't perfect, but at least it's a step in the right direction, is we could actually migrate our stakes, or our seed phrase in this instance, to a new hardware wallet. Now, obviously there's some pros and cons in doing this, and we'll touch on those a little bit more as we move forward. But what we're essentially doing is we're recovering our seed phrase, or recovering a hardware device using our existing seed phrase from MetaMask. And then we could destroy the MetaMask software wallet, so literally delete that vault file from your computer once you've confirmed everything is good, and fire up a fresh install of MetaMask, but then hook it up to your now restored hardware wallet. Now, it's not perfect, as the seed and the vault have been on your computer at some stage, but hey, better to catch that now and fix it as early as we can, and migrate that across to a little bit more secure environment, which we then can leave those stakes we've got there running, and any new stakes we do, we can set up using the hardware wallet and restake in a slightly different way. And that's where the use of passphrases and things like that can come into play. So even though your seed phrase may have been left online, we can further protect that with a passphrase to enable you to keep that seed phrase and your current stakes, but then do any new stakes on that same device, but using a seed phrase that is protected by the passphrase element. If that doesn't make any sense to you at the moment, don't stress. I'm going to cover passphrases in a lot more detail in a following video, and I'm really going to break those down and show you why you should really be using them. Now, if you haven't already, I totally understand it. It's going to be hard, and you're going to be caught in a place where you have got existing stakes, but at least you've got that knowledge on board, so as you restake, you can look at things in a slightly different way. Okay, so that's cool. So now you've decided, all right, well, time for me to get a hardware wallet and move this across and tighten up my security environment. Let's see what our options are. So what wallet can you actually import to? And there's a couple of standards that I think it's worth understanding at a very high level what they do, and then that will give you a pretty good guidance as to how you can rectify this situation. And we'll start by looking at the BIP39 standard, and that's really just the standard for mnemonic codes for generating what they call deterministic keys. So that's really our seed phrase, and if a wallet supports the BIP39 created seed phrases, or seed phrases that conform to that standard, then the chances are you're going to be able to use that wallet. And the good thing is that most of the wallets in this space all follow that standard. So it's highly likely that your wallet supports this. So MetaMask, Trezor, Ledger, pretty much most that you can think of would support this standard. I think it would be rare if they didn't. But just so you know, if you're looking for something a little bit outside of the box, so you're not going for your major one like your Ledger or your Trezor, just be aware that that's the thing you need to check out. And if you really want to delve into this and a couple of other standards we're going to cover on the next slide, then this site here is really worth checking out. I'll jump into the next slide and have a quick chat, and then we'll come back and we'll have a quick look at this site, and I'll just show you from a learning perspective. It's a pretty cool site that I think is worth checking out if you've got that sort of interest. So the other two standards that are applicable if you're looking for somewhere where you can restore your seed phrase to is the BIP39 Standard. And that's for hierarchical deterministic wallets, which your Trezor or your Ledger, they all support that. And this standard is to do with creating multiple key pairs for multiple addresses and things like that. And then along with that becomes BIP44, which is multiple account hierarchy for deterministic wallets. So that's multiple coins, multiple chains, so that these three standards together build up the core of what most wallets do, where they manage all your seeds and your multiple addresses in your wallet and multiple coins and tokens within that wallet as well. So a little bit of technical jargon there, but long and the short of that is most wallets will support these standards, or the modern wallets will support these standards these days. So you can choose numerous wallets to import your seed phrase into. The good thing is all the major hardware wallets are all supporting these standards, so you can restore your MetaMask seed into one of these compliant wallets. And I said I'd show you something else, so let's quickly jump back and have a look at that. So I mentioned that I'd show you that website, which is this one here. So this covers, and it's a good thing to find more information on the BIP39 standard, but also BIP44 and all the other standards that we've just sort of spoken about. And this site, this is a seed generator site. Now, I'm not suggesting you go generating your seeds using this software. I think it's a rare instance where you should be generating seeds using software like this. You should be using wallets to do all that sort of stuff. But if you want to tinker with this a little bit more, at least get the version where you can do this offline on an air-gapped computer if you're going to store any assets in a wallet you create with this. But this is a pretty cool site just for learning a little bit more about how wallet addressing works, where we can select different, we'll put in Ethereum in this instance, and we can generate some mnemonic seed, seed splitting. I'll cover that in another video. It's okay. I'll go through the pros and cons of why you might want to use that and why you might not want to use that. But nonetheless, I think this website's pretty cool just for learning some of the things you can do, learning about how the derivation paths are formatted for particular wallets. So you undoubtedly, when you've fired up something like My Ether wallet, or you've seen this derivation path but maybe don't know what it means, and you'll notice that for each coin there's a different path. Okay, so you can start to delve in and get a little bit more of an understanding how that works. and how all the addresses are generated and the derivation paths for each of your addresses that you see on your wallets. So if you've got any interest in this, I think this is cool, and it will extend your learning a little bit, and you can learn a little bit more about wallet addressing and yeah, just be a little bit more across your own security. Okay, let's jump straight back to the other slides. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through an actual example of where we take a seed phrase from MetaMask and we import it into Trezor, just so you can see how easy it is to do, and the fact that it's not a scary process. Your funds aren't at risk. It's a very easy thing to do. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use MetaMask's seed, and that's a 12-word seed, and we'll migrate that across to Trezor. Just know that normally and this is straight from the Ledger website, normally the devices, when you set them up, they use a 24-word recovery phrase, but you can also use 12, 18 or 24s when you're restoring your wallets. So in our case, we can use a 12-word seed phrase from MetaMask and restore that to a Ledger device as well. My preference is the Trezor devices. I've touched on this in previous videos. I just think they are, from a user perspective, they're a lot more user-friendly. The interface is nicer. They handle things like passphrases just so much better than the Ledger devices. And I've got to be honest, in my day-to-day job where I help a lot of onboarding of a lot of users, I've had a number of clients that have, and me personally, have had Ledger devices and they've actually failed. So it's not a problem if you're backing up your seed, but it's not a great feeling when the buttons on your device stop working or the screen just blanks out and it's bricked itself. And I've seen that happen on numerous occasions. But more importantly, the way passphrases are handled on the Ledger device it's pretty clunky, and it's not something you could use easily if you were using it regularly. One thing I will give the Ledgers is there's a lot more support. So if you're trying to store different coins and different projects, that Ledger definitely tends to get support a lot quicker. So some of the more newer projects definitely supported on Ledger before Trezor. But that's a payoff I'm willing to sacrifice to have a nice usable device like a Trezor. I still have my Ledger devices as well, but my Trezor is my daily driver for sure. Okay, so let's have a quick look at how a restore process would actually take place. Okay, so let's go through the process of migrating from MetaMask across to a Trezor device that we're going to initialize for the first time, and we'll import our seed. And the account we're looking at here, it's a blank account, but I mean it'll serve our purpose. We've got two accounts or addresses associated with this MetaMask wallet. So we're just going to take a note of those, just so we can verify that when we do restore to the Trezor device, we're looking at the right addresses. So I'm just going to jot down address 2, account 2. So we'll just take a note of that. And we'll take a note of account 1. So if you've watched the previous part of the video about wallets and how the addresses are generated and stored, that's pretty much what we're looking at, is when you generate that seed for the first time, the list of addresses that are generated in order, and we're just looking at the first 1 or 2 addresses. All right, so now that we've got that information down, well, what we really need to do is go into settings, and we need to reveal our seed word. So as I mentioned, this is a downside of using online wallets, is when you do need to back things up or or restore things, you're doing it usually on an internet connected device, which may or may not have been compromised. So this is a bit of a shortcoming of using purely a software only based wallet. So once again, we need to reveal our oh, I better get that correct. Let's try again. There we go. Okay, so we've just revealed our seed phrase, and we need to jot that down. And this is also what I see as a bit of a danger thing, where you can save things as CSV files and things like that. If you're saving that and leaving it on your computer, yeah, look, that's a recipe for disaster. So I'd advise not to be doing things like that. That's really not a great way to tackle the security and storage of your seeds. Okay, so now that we've gone through the process and written all that down, let's jump across to, we'll close this first of all, we don't need that anymore. And then we'll go into our Trezor startup. Look, we're going to have to go through a bit of an install here. Looks like the firmware needs to be updated, so we'll go through that process. If it's a bit long, I won't bore you with that, I'll skip through. So what you're not seeing off screen, obviously, is just my Trezor is just going through the firmware update process, which it's now done, and it's restarting. Okay, and we're in. Okay, now normally you would go into create a new wallet when you're initializing your Trezor for the first time. However, we're going to be recovering using our single backup. So we'll click on recover, and it's going to ask us to recover. Now okay, please check. So we won't check the passphrase feature this time around. We'll cover passphrases in another video. Okay, so we'll continue there. And yeah, we agree with that. So on the device, it's asking me to agree to these terms of service, which I have just done. And we've gone into recovery mode. So I'm just selecting that I'm going to use 12 words to recover it. It's come up with a choice of 12, 18, 20, 24, or 33. So we've gone with 12. That's how many words we have on our MetaMask seed. And we're just going to go through entering the seed onto the Trezor. So I'll just pause this to save you the agony of watching me go through all of that. But just note that the important thing is I'm doing this offline. So we're not actually entering the seed on the computer or online at any stage. It's all being done actually on the device. Okay, so I've just gone through and entered the 12 words, which probably took about 2 minutes to do in total. And I've gone OK. All right, so we're just going through the recovery phase now. And look, let's set up a pin. That won't take us long. And we'll just re-enter that pin again. Done. So we've set up our pin. And just agree to that. Okay, done. I want to continue later. We'll continue here. Continue. Call it restored. And we'll skip that. And we'll continue. Cool. So we have now gone and completely set up the Trezor device by way of restoring the seed phrase. And what we're going to do now is just double check that the addresses that have come through are correct and match what we said we had previously. So let's quickly have a look at that. And whilst we could just connect the device to MetaMask to check this, I just want to keep it entirely separate from the other MetaMask local install we've got at the moment, just to make sure things are correct and valid. So I'm going to use my Ether wallet just to quickly confirm this. And so we're going to connect our Trezor device. And we'll give my Ether wallet permission in a moment. Okay, now what I like about the way this pops up is it makes it nice and easy, and we can check the first two addresses are correct. So we had, we should have written down, we had 41BD as the first one and 3135 as the second one, which should line up with 41BD was that one and 3135. So we can confirm that we're actually seeing the same public addresses. So we have restored that successfully, and there'd be no reason to think that that wouldn't work as you would expect. So let's just jump out of this now. We don't need this anymore, because really what we're after is getting this all connected back into our MetaMask. Right, so we have confirmed, so little checklist we'll go through. So we've confirmed that the addresses have come across okay, and if you were holding some stakes or you had a balance on your addresses, you would see them appear, so you would know you were dealing with the right addresses. Okay, so it would be very, very obvious. What we'll then do is, now we want to remove all traces of our seed phrase in MetaMask, and the way we do that is simply by removing from Chrome. Okay, this time when we come back in, if we want to install MetaMask again, we'll go through that process. So let's install MetaMask for Chrome. And when I use MetaMask, I use it as essentially a burner account. So let's just add this. When I install MetaMask, the seed that's created in the default account for MetaMask, so when we first set that up, which we'll do in a moment, I write it all down and I store it somewhere, but it's never ever going to have a balance put on that. To me, it's just a burner account. So if it got lost on my computer failed in any way and I lost that MetaMask account, I would not care, because I would come back in and reconnect my Trezor device to the account anyway. So let's get started. Now we'll create a new wallet this time. So we want to remove all traces of our last seed. So we're going to create a fresh wallet, and we'll give this a password. Done it again. What's wrong with my fingers tonight? Let's try again. What, that can't be true. Let's try again. All right. I must be half asleep tonight. All right, let's go. So let's create that. Okay, so to be honest, I wouldn't even bother me if I didn't do this now, because like I said, this is a burner account. So for this exercise, I'm just going to skip it. We don't even want to back up this. All right, so you can see this is now a completely different address to what we had before. We've used a whole new seed. So this is a fresh MetaMask install. And you know what? We don't care, because that's exactly the way we want MetaMask to operate. We just want it to be a shell, so just an application that is going to be used to interact with our hardware device. So we will connect our Trezor back to MetaMask. and we'll give, like we did with my Ether wallet, we're going to give MetaMask the ability to see our public keys. So now let's just double check again, like we did with my Ether wallet. We can see our first address is 41BD, which is correct. That's what I wrote down previously, and 3135. So we know we've successfully brought across our original seed via the restore to the Trezor device, and we can unlock that. Okay, 41BD. So simple as that. If you had any balances on your original seed that was in MetaMask, that'll all be brought across. You could go interact with the smart contract and control your stakes, transfer balances, anything that you could do in MetaMask, you can now do in MetaMask, albeit via the Trezor being connected now. So that's the important thing we need to check, is we're no longer using account 1 or 2, we're using our freshly imported seed, and the address is based off the Trezor. Okay, that's really as hard as this gets. It's not difficult. It's a very simple process. The main thing is document your seed phrase, do the restore before you blow away any of your MetaMask settings. That way you know that it is all 100% working. You could even go to the next level and actually interact with your stakes and your smart contract to confirm it's all working on a fresh MetaMask install in another browser or in another profile within a browser, just to confirm that you are 100% satisfied that it's all good before you blow away your MetaMask account. That's it. Let's jump back and finish off on the rest of this video. Okay, so I can hope you see that wasn't really a hard process to go through, and we went and showed how all the addresses were all still intact. So I think you can be pretty confident and comfortable that this is a very easy process and something you could easily tackle without fear of losing any funds. And let's just finish off with a look at the pros and cons. So before you go through and do that process, it's good to understand what's the benefits of doing it, and more importantly, what do you lose out on by doing this. So pros, like I said, we removed the key store from your computer, and you're now using the secure chip on the hardware device to store your seed and to generate and approve transactions. I should be more specific. So what that means is you're not reliant on the security just on your computer. You've separated the two so that if someone does compromise your computer, they haven't compromised the actual hardware device, and you still need to approve all your transactions on that. So your future stakes can now be protected with passphrases. So you've migrated from a software wallet to a hardware wallet, and if you've used the Trezor like I'm suggesting you do, then you can start implementing the passphrase feature for future stakes. So you get to the stage where you're not using the key store on your machine. You've secured your existing stakes, excuse me, your existing stakes and any funds you have on your hardware device, and then future stakes you can stake out using what will be a different address, but it will be an address that's protected by a passphrase, which I think is something you really should be looking at. And then it's a two-factor sort of authentication type scenario where not only does someone need to know something you know, but they need to have something you have, which is your hardware device. So they can't approve the transaction unless they've got that device there. Like I mentioned a couple of times there, your transactions will get approved on the device, which is always just that little bit extra layer of security. The cons, it's not perfect as the seed has been online at some point in time. However, all your future stakes and things like that, you can, like I say, implement the passphrase feature, which will bolster that security as well. So, but yeah, not great. It's still you still have your seed on it exposed to your computer at some point in time. And obviously, there's the cost of purchasing the hardware device, which I think is well worth it, given where we think Hex is heading and the value of those stakes and what they're going to be worth in the future. You really want to be making sure that you've looked after them the best you can, and I think the small price you pay for a hardware device is well worth it. All right, look, I hope you found some value on that, and I hope that you understand that, look, it's not a scary process to go and migrate your seed phrase from your software wallet, your MetaMask software wallet, onto a new hardware device, whether that's a Trezor or a Ledger or another one of your choosing, of which there are many. So there's more than one hardware device you can use, but I think migrating to that hardware device will definitely let you sleep a little bit better at night. Hope you've enjoyed that, and I'll catch you on the next training video.